She didn't scream. Didn't cause a scene. Didn't get angry. She simply took her rightful seat, the one she paid for, 2A, first class, by the window. And for that, she was asked to leave the plane. No evidence. No reason. Just because she didn't look like someone who belonged there. But what no one on that flight knew was that she was the founder of a company worth hundreds of millions, a company they were desperately trying to acquire. And just hours later, she canceled the deal. Without a single warning. What happened? And why did one woman's silence bring an entire corporation to its knees? Today, you'll hear the story of Simone Banner, the woman in seat 2A, and the lesson the world had to learn afterward. Simone Banner wasn't expecting praise. She didn't need applause or a red carpet. All she wanted that afternoon was a quiet window seat, 2A, first class, on the left side of the plane. Less glare for reading documents. The flight from San Francisco to Newark was nothing out of the ordinary. A long trip, enough time to finish a report, think things over, and take a deep breath before the big day. At 47, she was used to moving silently. No need to impress. No need to perform. Just a navy blazer, dark jeans, low heels, no makeup, no wedding ring, no phone blaring. Everything about her was quiet, focused, and prepared. She boarded early, gave a slight nod to the passenger in 2B, tucked her tablet into the seat pocket, and settled in. Everything was normal, until a young flight attendant approached, her smile strained, not reaching her eyes. "Excuse me," the attendant said, her voice tight. "Can I see your boarding pass again?" Simone was slightly surprised but handed it over. The attendant checked it carefully, longer than usual, then asked, "Are you sure this is your seat?" "Seat 2A," Simone replied calmly. "As it says on the ticket." The attendant nodded quickly, muttered, "All right," and walked away. No apology. No smile. Just a lingering unease in the air. Simone sensed a shift. An indescribable feeling crept under her skin, like when someone in the room decides something's wrong, and everyone else pretends not to notice. Someone tightened their seatbelt harder than necessary. A passenger adjusted their seat with a loud clunk. The person next to her suddenly became engrossed in the safety pamphlet. Simone stayed silent, focusing on the open business plan in front of her. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., she had a meeting with Avalon Dynamics. A deal worth nearly $600 million was nearing its close. What they didn't know was that the company they were set to acquire, Banner Systems, wasn't owned by some anonymous investment fund, as they assumed. It was hers. Hers alone. But sometimes, a flight veers off course before it even leaves the ground. 15 minutes later, 2 men in security uniforms entered the first-class cabin. Not airport staff. Not airline employees. They carried the cold air that often precedes public humiliation. The taller one approached, looking directly at her. "Simone Banner?" he asked, half confirming, half doubting. Simone lipped up. "That's me. Please step off the plane for a moment. We need to verify some information." "Is there a problem?" she asked calmly, slipping her tablet into her bag. "There's a report about a seating issue. We need to check." Simone exhaled softly, a mix of wry amusement and weariness. "I've shown my boarding pass twice." "We understand, ma'am. But you need to come with us." "You want me to leave the seat I paid for, to verify something you've already verified?" "Yes, ma'am." She stood unhurried. The first-class cabin was deathly silent. The man beside her said nothing. No one reacted. No sympathetic glances. No questions. Simone walked off the plane, posture straight, shoulders back, eyes forward. From seat 2A to the aircraft door, no one stood up, no one spoke for her. In the jet bridge, the security officer spoke curtly. "Your boarding pass is completely valid. There was a mistake by the flight attendant." "A mistake?" she repeated. He nodded, avoiding her gaze. "You can reboard now." "No need," she said. "I'll take the next flight. Send me the rebooking details." No argument. No raised voice. No tears. She turned and walked away. But the storm was already forming. Simone sat at gate 14. Back straight, eyes on her screen. No coffee. No social media. No complaints. Just a new folder labeled Contingency Plan. She didn't scream for attention. She wrote. She calculated. And she changed course. Banner Systems was the brainchild she'd quietly built over 8 years. No venture capital. No media spotlight. No one outside her inner team knew she was the founder and sole shareholder. Avalon thought they were negotiating with a group of investors. They had no idea the person they were trying to buy out was the woman they just had removed from the plane. And now, that deal was dead. Not because of money. Not because of offense. But because Simone had seen enough. She understood. A young employee approached, holding a new boarding pass. Ms. Banner, we've rebooked you on the 6:40 p.m. flight. Still first class. We're very sorry for the inconvenience. Simone lipped up. Do you know what happened? There was a mix-up about the seat, he replied, hesitating. That's all? Yes, ma'am. Thank you, she said, returning to her screen. Her fingers tapped lightly. She opened the presentation for tomorrow's meeting. Each slide was the result of months of negotiations, persuasion, anonymity. She quietly clicked Archive. No need to send a notice. No need for warnings. She boarded the evening flight without incident. Still seat 2A. A new crew, their eyes tense but polite. She closed her eyes as the plane left the ground. Outside, the sky was pitch black. No stars. No matter. She had her own direction. At 1:15 a.m., she arrived at her Tribeca apartment. Dim lights. The city hummed beyond the glass. She kicked off her shoes, poured a small cup of ginger tea, and opened her laptop. An email from Avalon awaited. We're very much looking forward to meeting you tomorrow morning. The board is eager. She didn't hesitate. She typed, letter by letter. Subject, plan changed. Body, as of this moment, Banner Systems terminates all negotiations with Avalon Dynamics. We are no longer interested in any form of partnership or acquisition. No further contact is necessary. SB. She hit send. That was it. No explanations needed. Let them guess. A text came from her assistant. Avalon is checking in for the meeting tomorrow. Cancel the room? Simone replied. Cancel everything. No press responses. Later, she stood and walked to the glass door, looking down at the city's twinkling lights. The world seemed small, comprehensible. And in just a few hours, Avalon would lose a $600 million deal. They wouldn't even know why. By 7:43 a.m., Avalon's CFO's phone buzzed incessantly. He read the email 3 times. No reason. No explanation. Call back? Pointless. Rumors began to spread on Twitter. A blurry video surfaced. A black woman calm, being asked to leave first class. Another clip showed her walking away from her seat. No shouting. No struggle. Just a cold gaze and steady steps. Within hours, Simone Banner was a headline. Black CEO removed from plane despite valid ticket. Simone Banner cancels $600 million deal after airline incident. Avalon plunges into PR crisis. In a boardroom, the strategy director opened a financial file. She owns 100% of the company. We had no idea. Another added. We never even knew what she looked like. They exchanged glances, no one daring to voice what they all understood. Simone sat in her quiet apartment. The tea was cold. Her laptop open. She typed a short post and shared it with the world. I was asked to leave a plane not for being a threat, not for a mistake, but for how I looked. You saw a black woman in a first-class seat and assumed it was suspicious. No one asked my name. No one questioned their own bias. You just stayed silent. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I walked off. And hours later, I ended a $600 million deal. This wasn't retaliation. This was clarity. It's not about business. It's about dignity. And my dignity has no price. She signed it, SB. Nothing more was needed. Because sometimes silence is the loudest response. And just because someone doesn't shout when wrong doesn't mean they won't make a decision that changes everything. Next time you see someone where you don't expect them, think twice before judging. They might be the reason your company exists. Or the reason it doesn't. 3 days after Simone posted her brief statement, her office still refused to engage with the press. The phone rang almost non-stop, from CNN to TechCrunch, from documentary filmmakers to advocacy groups. Some called to inquire, others to apologize, and some, just to hear her voice. But all received the same message from Simone's assistant. Thank you for your interest, but we have no comment at this time. The world outside buzzed with noise, but inside her quiet apartment, Simone sat silently by the window. A steaming cup of tea, a leather-bound notebook, and the old fountain pen her mother had given her over 20 years ago. She wrote. Not a speech. Not a business plan. Just for herself. She wrote about the first time she was rejected for funding because her idea was too ambitious for someone without a pedigree in the industry. About the time she walked into a boardroom and was assumed to be the interpreter. About the moment she nearly gave up on Banner Systems because no one believed her technology was good enough to change the game. Writing was her way of siphoning off emotions she shared with no one. Not because she was weak, but because the world didn't know what to do with a successful, quiet black woman. She looked down at the street below. People walked. Cars moved. Lives continued as if nothing had changed. But she knew something had. Not just for Avalon, but in how people saw someone like her, for the first time, unfiltered by prejudice. On the 6th day, Avalon held an internal press conference. An interim CEO was appointed. Mitchell Corbin, the former CFO, quietly submitted a leave of absence. Rumors swirled that he had personally blocked the investment team from digging deeper into Banner Systems' founder, deeming it not worth the time. An email landed in Banner Systems' company inbox. The subject was simple. A chance. The sender was Allison Grant, Avalon's former strategy director, who had met Simone once at a private meeting last month. In the email, Allison wrote concisely, I was wrong. Not just about the deal, but about the person. I'd like to apply to work with you, not for clout, but because, for the first time, I understand what it means to lead with integrity. Simone didn't respond immediately. But she saved the email. A week after Simone's post, a rival to Avalon, Oryx Technologies, publicly extended an offer for strategic collaboration. The invitation was formal but carried no acquisition proposal. We're not looking to own Banner Systems, they wrote. We just want to build something better together, with people who listen. Simone smiled. She wasn't in a hurry. Another quiet morning, her assistant placed a small package on her desk. No sender's name. Just a neatly handwritten letter. You don't know me, but I know you. I'm the one who recorded the video in first class. I didn't speak up then. I stayed silent. And I regret it. That video was shared over 2 million times, and I didn't attach my name. But I want you to know, silence can be a mistake too. Because of you, I've learned the biggest lesson of my life. Simone folded the letter. No tears. No overwhelming emotion. Just a quiet peace in her chest. A sense that, for the first time in years, she no longer had to fight to be seen. She was recognized. Not for fame, but for who she was. That day, Simone left her office and walked along the Hudson River. A new life was beginning, without fanfare or fireworks. Just a continuation of her journey. But now, she didn't need to hide. She didn't need to stay silent to keep the peace. She could speak. Or not. But when she acted, the world would listen. And even if, to some, she was still just the woman in C2A, from now on, no one would dare think she was in the wrong place. After the Avalon incident, people thought Simone Banner would take a break. That she would disappear again, as she had quietly built a tech empire without anyone knowing her face. But what no one expected was this: it was only the beginning. 3 months after the airport incident, when the articles had cooled and the media shifted to a new entertainment scandal, Simone rented an old room in the heart of Soho, a former textile workshop with peeling paint on the walls, high ceilings, and wooden floors still carrying the scent of time. She didn't bring the walnut desk or leather chair from her old office. On a scratched wooden table, she placed only a laptop, a thermos, and a small photo of her mother, the woman who once worked 3 jobs so Simone could study STEM at a better school. Simone called the place the Seed Room. Not an office, but a place for planting. She didn't post job listings. She didn't raise funds. She didn't invite the press. She sent a single email to 5 women she knew had built tech companies but were denied funding for lacking scalability, a polite way of saying, "Someone like you won't succeed." The email had one line: "If you're still determined to make that idea real, meet me this Friday, 8 a.m., bring nothing but your readiness." All 5 showed up. Each brought a story, an idea, and a shared wound, having walked into rooms full of men in suits, looked down upon, asked questions no one would ask a white founder. And now, for the first time, they sat across from someone who didn't need to prove anything to anyone, who just listened and nodded. "No. We'll consider it." No demand for a more detailed pitch deck. "No. Does your husband support this?" Simone asked one question. "Are you ready to sacrifice to build something no one can ignore?" From that Friday morning, the Seed Room began. Simone didn't call it a venture fund. She called it a choice, because that's what too many women of color had been denied: the right to choose, to fail, to try, and to be trusted like anyone else. She didn't fund in cycles. She didn't demand equity unless necessary. She didn't create flashy pitch decks. She built an ecosystem where real people, real ideas, and real justice took precedence over everything. Rumors about Simone started spreading again, but in a new way. "She's building something," one post read. "Not a unicorn. A soil for others to plant." Female founders began seeking her out. An engineer who left NASA after her ideas were ignored by a male team lead for 3 years. A single mother who invented an affordable sensor to monitor asthma in children. A 24-year-old developing a water purification solution using jellyfish remains. Each carried a dream once dismissed. And Simone, who once sat quietly in seat 2A, now opened the door and said, "Come in. No one here doubts you." By the end of the first year, the fund, nameless, without a website, had backed 17 projects. 7 had products on the market. 3 received partnership offers from major corporations. One was led by Allison Grant, the woman who emailed Simone for a chance after Avalon's collapse. She never apologized again. And Simone never brought up the past. They just sat together one late afternoon, before signing a new funding round. Simone poured 2 cups of tea. She asked, "Are you still afraid?" Allison nodded. "Yes. But now I'm not alone." One night, as Simone left the Seed Room near midnight, she saw a message someone had written in marker on the whiteboard behind her. No name. Just a simple line. "Justice didn't wear robes. She wore navy blue, and she changed my life." Simone looked at it, then erased it. She didn't need to be remembered as a legend. She just wanted every woman who walked through that door, regardless of city, nationality, or age, to hold her head high and know, "I'm not in the wrong place. I was chosen. I am worthy." Because she had sat in seat 2A. She knew what it felt like when the world thought she didn't belong. But now, she didn't need a seat. She was building an entire room. And this time, no one could make her leave.